All right, guys. So we're back on to the
What's up,
Handoff
y'all? What's
podcast
up?
here, Antonio Ethan, and we got a little special guest. Hey, Antonio, you want to introduce him?
Yeah, man. This is Oscar and Tyler. What's up, man? Introduce yourselves.
What's going on? What's going on? My name's Tyler, man. This is my boy Oscar Moreno. What is up, guys? We're from Tracy, California, a little town out here in Northern California. We both grew up here. I grew up here. I was born in 1995. And then go ahead and let Tyler talk a little bit. Yeah, so I'm from here. We're kind of both from here a little bit, and we've been here pretty much my whole life, and growing up as athletes, playing sports here our entire life. And we're kind of in a suburb of San Francisco, so we're kind of a little ways out, and we never really had much of outlets for sports. So growing up, going into high school, going into college, and kind of seeing, that there's not really no developmental process here in our town. My goal was to come back after I stopped playing football. I went to college and played a little bit of ball in Oklahoma, played football out there. Came back, I walked on at San Jose State. It ended up not working out. And then, I was just like, you know what, how can I find a way to stay in the sport and try to help kids, not make the same mistakes that I did, and guide them in the right direction, and have a little bit of someone in their corner to kind of guide them in the right direction. So that brings us here now. So it's been about 5 years we've been running our business, and actually within the last 6 months I met Oscar, and we've been rocking ever since, man. It's been solid.
It's awesome. It's awesome. It's
Hey,
great
man.
stuff. I heard Antonio's told me a lot about you guys.
Yeah, man. Me and Ethan kind of met. I'll tell you guys how. First, I want to know. Well, basically, I'll tell you guys how me and Ethan met first. So, me and Ethan are track and field teammates in our sophomore year of college. So we went in and we were on the same team. I knew about him, he knew about me, but we hadn't met. We met in the dining hall, like before practice or something like that. We were eating, and we were sitting at a table with a mutual friend who we had. His name is Donald, and they were telling Ethan was telling me, he was like, "Yeah, man, like they got me living in the hotel right now. Like I'm not even on campus. I got to like I have to drive from like Gettysburg all the way to Emmitsburg." And he was like, "This is a struggle." I was like, "Yo, man, we got to open room in our suite. Like you can come in." And I mean, we're on the same team, so it'll be good for each other. And we got close. We spent a lot of time together, went a lot of places. And yeah, man, we definitely grew a bond. And we decided, like, yo, let's start this podcast because we're both, I'm ex-collegiate. He's currently in college, just finished up this season. And like, I was like, man, we got to definitely tell people, like, how it really is to be a Division I athlete, not only, but also what it's like to be a person, because there's not a lot of athletes who really show you the human side of them. You just see a lot of fronts on social media. You see them and their accolades, but you don't really see them, what they're thinking, how they're kind of going day by day, and how they kind of deal with the stuff that you get thrown at as an athlete.
Definitely. That's
Yeah.
dope, man.
Yeah,
That's
it's
awesome, man. Being a college athlete, I definitely think it's not for everybody.
It's
definitely underrated, or I would say, you know, they they go through a lot more than most people think.
Right.
yeah.
Just the stress of playing sports is a huge stress on its own, and then you add in school, then you add in being away from home, then you add in not having a job, or being on a partial scholarly or whatever it is, and then it just makes everything a lot harder and a lot more challenging. So I've been there. I played ball, like I said, in Oklahoma for a little bit at a small NAIA out there, NAIA, and you know it was tough. It was definitely challenging going from I mean, we're in a small town, but going there is even a smaller town.
Yeah.
And predominantly white people, and I have nothing against white people, but they know, like, I'm Latino, and people, they just, I feel like
he's white.
I feel like people just look at you
That's
different
me.
when
That's
you
me.
walk in the door, and they just know you're not from there, and just that aspect
Yeah.
too is different. Dealing with a different part of the country is just like, that it wears on you too. And I can only imagine being, being black or being even darker skin, that must be even more of a challenge for sure.
Yeah, especially dude, like me and Ethan talk about like diversity more than most people would on these, like especially as athletes and how we used to get looked at on campus or kind of the image that comes, and especially where we were like we went to college in a small place. It's called Emmitsburg, Maryland, and it's somewhere off of like you wouldn't even understand. It's somewhere off of Frederick, which is another small town in Maryland.
Yeah.
So it's like, but it's near this place called Thurmont, and Thurmont is like historically a more racist, predominantly white area, and it's obviously evolved from then. And there's not everybody there was racist, but there was situations that like we encountered in school that were like shows of like racism still being there, and especially being athletes, it was really like I can't imagine how hard it was for the non-athletes, because when you're an athlete you kind of get looked at as like, okay, he's black or he's Spanish, but he gets stuff done on the field or on the court, and you kind of get looked at different, right? But if you're just because you can kind of like, I don't know how to describe it, but kind of avoid racism based on your status. And it's crazy.
Exactly. You kind of get a status, I think, just because you're an athlete, it's like, okay, also.
Yeah, like that's me. Like I'm a Latino myself, and coming from a city in I'm on Jersey. I'm literally a mile from the beach. Like a very diverse town to go to Emmitsburg, where it's literally like it's country land. Like I got nothing. I don't got the beach a mile from me. I don't got whole different cultures and different types of people around me. It's like it hit me like a train freshman year. But it's crazy. It was definitely like a waking up call.
Yeah, I dealt with the same thing. I played 2 years out in Minnesota, small town, same thing, St. Bonifacius, same thing. But I think as athletes, right, that's what we live for. We live for putting ourselves in these different environments that allow us to grow and allows us to, right. I mean, as an athlete, of course, you're always trying to find the positive, learn, and then grow from that. Progression is key.
Yeah.
And I remember getting out there, and I'm from California, where it's sunny 12 months out of the year, and now I'm barely getting 3 months of field time. I'm out there doing T work in the snow up to my shins, and they're all looking at me. And I'm like, "Hey, it's work, baby. Snow.
Yeah, man.
Out there.
Do what you gotta do.
Man. Yeah, with that, I think we kind of want to transition into. I think we're at a good place. Like, I want, like, what's everybody's kind of transition from, like, your kind of real world transition from, oh, this isn't high school anymore to college. Like, your transition from the high school level to the college level, and how did you adapt with college and kind of find some ground with that?
So I know for me, I really didn't, going into college, I didn't really have no offers or nothing like that. I was really going into college. I wasn't even a top tier athlete. I was a good athlete, but I wasn't, great or anything like that. So transitioning from high school to college was kind of challenging. But I had actually I started out at Northwest Oklahoma. That was the first school I went to, and I ended up going with my brother, who kind of was like, "Hey, if I'm gonna come, if you guys can give me a partial scholarship, my brother's gonna come, and you give him a partial scholarship too." So I ended up, just tagging along, and luckily, I balled out. I did a good job. I was one of the only true freshmen to actually travel with the team. So we got to go, travel. We went to play South Dakota State in the Dome a little bit. So it was a super cool experience. But it was a big wake up call, just being out there and like I said, being away from home, being like thousands of miles away from home in a small town. And then, being, on a team as a true freshman and kind of seeing, I came from a pretty top tier team here in California called St. Mary's. And so, that was already an elite for me, and then going to that level, and just that the program itself wasn't super, wasn't an elite program, but we had a lot of bounce backs, like a lot of D1 bounce backs. So we had a lot of ballers, even though it was NAIA. So, it was kind of like, it was crazy to be playing against, playing with guys that are grown men, like literally some guys coming out of like coming out of prison. We had some guys that were bounced back from D1s. We had some guys that had just been playing for years, and it's just like, it was crazy. But luckily I had went to a good school in high school that kind of prepared me for that next level. And,
So going back to like, my bad. I just want to
No, you're good. Go
rephrase
ahead.
the question as far as like what kind of helped the transition from going from high school to college.
Yeah, what was your awakening that like, oh, this isn't high school anymore, and also what helped you transition into college as well?
So for me, it was being away from the house, because I was I'm Hispanic, so we're raised a little, sheltered, and then going away to now where I'm alone, I'm able to I have to make my own decisions, right? I don't necessarily have to go and practice. I don't, there's certain things. So for me, I think it was just being away from home that was like a real big wake up call. And then also the school that I went to, it's called Crown College. It was a D3, and then I played soccer and baseball over there. And just coming from, where, I'm sure you know how it is. It might be similar in New York, but how the way that sports, at least the way that I played sports out here, it's very strict. So it's year round, and then going out there to D3, and their program was not what I'd expected. I expected like to get there, and then it's like, it's almost like we didn't do anything for the first 4 months.
Tony can tell you all about that.
And it kind of like, for me, bro, it took the not necessarily the passion out of it, but now being that I'm only 17. I was a young senior. So I was only 17 going into college, and then there's no structure there. And now I'm just like, their coaches are pretty much just telling us, do whatever you can up until like October, November, and then we'll get with you. And so as far as the wake up call, like I said, go back to your question, was just the fact of being away from the house, and then me being able to make my own decisions, and having to be smart about that as an athlete, because I felt like I could do anything I want. And, so understanding that transition and how to be disciplined and how to stay on task and stay on your shit. And, I think thinking bigger picture as well, because for me, I was the only guy on my team that actually had aspirations of going past college. They were all just playing for fun. And I'm like, bro, I don't do this shit for fun, My goal is to get to the bigs, not just to. And so it took kind of the love out of the game for me, being around people like that, even though it shouldn't have, right? I could have easily
I totally get that.
Taken a different perspective on it, and then been like, all right, I'll just be, which is why I ended up only playing, like a year and a half over there. But yeah, so that was just to answer a little bit of the question.
Oh yeah, man. I definitely can relate to that. For we've talked about it I think on our first episode, but we'll definitely talk about it again just to be able to kind of further like open up about it with y'all. So I didn't even I played 3 sports in high school. I got recruited a little bit for all of them. But I got recruited. I honestly didn't have much. It would be like little D3 and JUCOs and stuff, but I didn't start running track until my senior year of high school during outdoor season, which y'all know is the last season of track in the year, for like, if you break it down for their seasons, so there's an indoor and an outdoor. And like, yeah, y'all know. And it's like, I didn't start till outdoor season, and I don't know. I guess it was meant to be. I broke a lot of school records that still stand. Just was doing well, was going to state invitationals and stuff like that. And I think we got 3rd in the state fire division in 4x1. And I was like, man, this is like a solid year.
Learners.
Yeah, but I was like, I don't even know solid form and all that. I was like, man, like I was raw, but I was just a dog out there. I was just doing my thing. But yeah, man, I ended up having one Division III school look at me and like offer me to come be on their program, just because a lot of them just didn't have, they had either already got their guys or just hadn't seen me. But I knew I had the talent. I knew I just had started late. So I was like, you know what, like it's cool, but I don't want to go to this school. Let me see if I can go to another school, just because I felt like if I went to that school, I would have been stuck there. So I was like, I was literally last day of signing, I was in the guidance office calling a million schools. I didn't have to go to like class at all that day. They had me in the guidance office all day calling schools, reaching out. And then the school called York College. On my way to the gym with my friend after school, the coach at York College had called me and I had missed it. But he left me a voice note. And he was like, Antonio, yeah, like we got your call, like we've seen your stats and stuff. And yeah, we have a spot for you in our program. Like you can come here. And I was like, yo, like me and my friend were going wild. But so I went there for my freshman year and I was like, I need to catch up. Like everybody's going to be so ahead of me when I get there. I need to just be like relentless. So I cut everything off. Like I just went into I grinded that whole off season and I had to learn everything and kind of catch up. But I didn't realize that I was doing more. Like when I got there, I realized how much more I had actually done. And it wasn't anything I expected. Like I got there and I was like, man, like everybody's going to be good. But I get there and I realized nobody was taking it that serious. And just like you said, Oscar, I was like, nobody takes it seriously. Everybody's worried about going out and getting messed, like getting, they're worried about getting effed up at the parties and all this stuff. And like, I had fun at the school, but like, I knew like when I got there and I realized like, I was like, well, I already like after the first meet, I was like, I got to be the best person on this team. I had said it and I ended up being the best on the team, representing my team. And I held myself to a different standard. We had morning lifts that I was like, we need to do morning lifts. I told the coach, like, everybody needs to get up in the morning. We need to do morning lifts because it's what everybody has to do to be good. So we started doing morning lifts. I made sure I was there. I made sure my teammates were there. I was like, yo, like, look, I'm doing this. Like, I'm getting the extra work and I'm not going to be here long. And I knew, like, I was like, I don't plan on staying here. Like, I plan on, like, making a mark, but I see myself going past this. And I always wanted to be a Division I athlete. I didn't know how, but I wanted to. And I always wanted to do it in basketball, but stopped playing basketball in high school. And I was like, you know what, like maybe track, I'll go here, but I didn't really have any expectations. I just knew how hard that I was going to apply myself. And I had a good season. I went to conferences and led the team and went on to championships, ran well there. And I was like, all right, I gotta have, like, COVID happened and it stopped the outdoor from happening, but I was like, all right, my indoor stats should be solid enough to get me somewhere. So put my name in the transfer portal and I got like my real recruitment, like the real recruiting feel. So I was on both ends of the spectrum, like scraping and clawing to get an offer and having to go with whatever you have. And then I got recruited again. So I had like 12 schools offer, and then the Mount was the best one I had, and I ended up deciding to go there. And I ran, and things were solid there, and like that's kind of how I ended up getting to where I went in college. Was just just got somewhere that I didn't know that I could get to.
Yeah, I had a completely different route. I went to in Jersey, Christian Brothers Academy. It's a prestige. For running wise, it's one of the top programs in the country for running. More on the distance side than the sprints, but we won states, counties, everything you could think of. We won at every.
We can't all be like Ethan, man.
Yeah, I just got the luck of the draw. I just got luck of the draw, right? And I had a bunch of offers coming out of high school for D1 schools, and just felt like the best fit was the Mount. It was a completely different route than what Antonio took, but I think that's like, what's crazy is like, we all took these different routes, right? I had this program, he had to go through D3, but look where we end up. We're both
we ended up in the same place, in the same suite.
Staying in the same room, but we took opposite ends of the loop, But I think it's something, it's crazy interesting, like how you guys, went all your different routes, but you guys ended up together somehow.
God's plan.
Yeah, it's crazy, But one thing I wanted to ask you guys is like how, where you guys are now, like what was like your first step to get into where you guys are now?
Man, so basically, like I said, after college, it didn't work out at San Jose State, and then I was working at 24 Hour Fitness at the time. I really didn't know like what I wanted to do, but I know I wanted to do something in a gym setting, whether that's with athletes or just training people, like general fitness type of stuff. My brother had actually started doing some training out here in the same town. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just come back and, see what happens. So I moved out of San Jose, moved back. One of my friends had a gym, like a little just boot camp gym. And so I started doing some classes for him here and there, whatever. and kind of just got me back into the gym. And, I've always been an athlete. I've always been working out. So it just came natural. So I started doing that. And then my brother's like, bro, I'm over here training. Come train with me. So I was like, all right, cool. So I left there. We started training, and we started in a Zumba room at World's Gym. So we started in a Zumba room training like 5 to 10 kids. And it worked for a while. We built up to like 20 kids. And then World's Gym was like, hey, we're going to build this whole other facility for you guys, like connect it next door. And we're going to put like turf in there and all this stuff. I'm like, hell yeah, we don't got to buy none of this equipment. That's awesome. We'll just pay rent. And they're like, yeah, just teach some of the classes for us and you guys can do your own thing. So we started doing that, and it was working out good for a while. Then eventually we started noticing started noticing barbells and trap bars and like different things just missing one day. And I was like, where's all this equipment going? Like I just came and all of a sudden it was gone. And I asked the owner, I'm like, hey, you guys know what happened to the equipment? Because I know we had more than that. And he's like, oh, yeah, I started selling it because you guys weren't using it. I'm like, we've definitely been using it every day, but you guys have never seen us do any classes. So then long story short, they kind of kicked us out without kicking us out, saying like, you guys kind of got to go, whatever. So, we just kind of went on our own. We found a spot, and it's been tough, but we found our own spot, and we've been here for the last 5 years, man. It's been up and down, but we're still rocking.
Awesome, man.
So it's been a rocky road, but I think every person that's an entrepreneur is just like, you find a way to make it work. There is no plan B. This is my plan A, and my plan B is to find a way to make plan A work.
Yeah, that's my thing. Like, what advice would you give somebody who wants to follow, in your footsteps of like physical training, like sports training, all that?
My advice would be to, one, make sure it's something you want to do. Make sure you're ready to be an entrepreneur, because not everyone is built to be an entrepreneur, and that's okay. Some people are good employees, and some, there's nothing wrong with being an employee and working for someone else. Right. But I feel like my whole life I've known that I wanted to be I've had it bigger. I was going to have something, something bigger for me out there. And I was meant to be here to do something bigger than just work for someone else. Mm-hmm. And so, I was like, you know what, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to make it work, and it's been tough, but at the end of the day, this is what I'm passionate about. I love being in the gym. I love training. I love being around athletes, because I'm an athlete since, I've always played sports. My dad, I used to go to the gym with my dad, and he would put us on the leg press and, leg press us for, 20 reps. And then we'd be playing basketball, and we're like 5 years old, like just running around the gym. So this is all I know. So I would just say, man, just make sure it's something you're passionate about, and make sure that, it looks cool on Instagram being an entrepreneur. It's cool to say you're an entrepreneur, but when you're down in the dumps, you ain't got no money. You ain't got no one to help you out. You're by yourself. You gotta stick it out. So
that's facts, man. It is rough, dude. Like, I remember, like like Ethan was there when I had my like realization that like I was like, this school stuff, man. Like just because of the financial situation with my family and stuff, I was like, I have to like give up my whole life, like which I feel like, which I want to get into after this was but I was like, man, like I was like, I have to give up everything I know right now, like who I am. Basically, my identity is the track athlete I was, and I was like, I have to give this up, and I was like, I'm willing to do it because I know I want to make this work. But like as soon as I did, man, like I'd say the first couple months, dude, it was like before I found AJ, who y'all know, who Ethan hasn't met yet, but we will have him soon. Like when I did meet him, I was like basically like a shell of myself. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know how to get there. I knew what I wanted to do somewhat, but man, like it was rough. It was rough because it was like investing my own money into myself and having to trust in myself, but nobody really believing in me and nobody understanding why I'm doing things, and just people just shitting on me constantly and beating me down. Eventually to a point where like I like isolated myself. I had like the immediate people who I loved around me and the people who were in my circle, and then everybody else, I was just like, I can't, like, I don't have time. I don't have effort. And I just basically locked myself in my room and went to the gym, and that was all I did. And I just like was relentless about learning about it. Like every single day, like 12 hours, just staying up till 4 a.m, waking up early and doing it again, like mental breakdowns after mental breakdowns after not really having answers and just up and down. But it's it's going to be worth it. It'd be definitely, everybody has room to grow, and I just knew it was what I needed to do because it is my passion.
Definitely. Yeah, I think just being self-aware of who you are, and then understanding that, right, have a vision, of course, understand where it is that you want to go, but then also understand that things aren't necessarily going to go the exact way you think they are, right? But if you apply yourself every day, if your daily habits, back up what it is, right? Because people can say, oh, I want to be a millionaire, but then they go home and eat junk food and watch TV, right? So what is it that, have your goals, have your daily habits, portray what it is that portray your goals that you want to eventually get to, and then understand adversity, and that's part of life, and looking at the positive in every aspect is the only way to approach life, and just progression, man. I tell all my guys, progression, especially at a young age, and because I coach a 13U baseball team, and I've had them for 4 months, and there's been a lot of progression, right? But they are still not, the kids that apply themselves correctly have obviously seen more than the other ones. But what I'm trying to ingrain in them and get them to understand is that, you're 13 years old right now, right? You're in 7th grade. Your focus should be today to tomorrow, right? How much can I get done today? Wake up tomorrow. How much can I get done tomorrow, right? It's all about progression. And I think as far as what we see, or what I see at least, that's missing in this day and age is just the grind and the work ethic. Everything is so easy for all these kids.
Instant gratification.
That like they have completely lost the aspect of work ethic, bruh. Like it is something just that I am just shook by, because I was never that type of athlete, whether it was because my dad made me, or whether it was because eventually my dad didn't have to make me. Eventually right. But it is thankful, I am thankful, because my dad, I remember Saturday, 7 a.m., get out to the field, so just understand, going back to what, what Ethan had asked, any tips for entrepreneurs or trainers wanting to just get into the business is you have to be passionate, like Tyler was saying. You have to have set goals, and then you have to just understand that where you get to is purely predicated on what you decide to do on a regular basis, right? If you don't do, and that's purely it,
Yeah. With that, especially talking about how you guys are entrepreneurs, I want you guys to I wanted to know a little bit about, I obviously know, but I want to ask a little bit for everybody to know, because I feel like it's well to share, is kind of what you guys focus with on your programs, and how you implemented speed development into what you guys are doing, and how you've been kind of taking advantage of being in that area in California and growing with that.
So so basically we work with kids from 6 years old all the way up to high school, college. We've had some guys that, were aspiring to play professional ball. So our big thing is, man, just work with a purpose, have a goal. Don't just work aimlessly. We're not in here just running around to make you tired, so I think, unfortunately, in this industry, there's a lot of people that, just do it just for the money, or do it just because it looks cool on Instagram, or they're, and it's like, really, at the end of the day, why are you doing this? Are you doing this for the kids, or are you doing this for yourself? And if you're doing it for yourself, or you're doing it for the wrong reasons, then, you shouldn't be doing this, because really, at the end of the day, I want to give these kids the best outlet and the best chance at being successful at the next level. And I've played with guys that played at that, played in the NFL. I played against Brandon Cooks. I played with, a buddy of mine, Josh Harper. I played with people that played in the league, and I know what it takes. And running around doing a bunch of nothing is not going to really help you. So our goal is to really just to build a solid foundation for these kids, and to really get them to understand that we're trying to teach them not only just how to be a better athlete, but how to be a better person. Like, regardless if you go and play sports at the end of the day, because 95% of them probably won't even make it to, won't make it to college, but take something out of it, take something that you can take for the rest of your life. Because I still remember when I was playing Pop Warner or my dad was coaching me, and the things that he used to teach me, I'm teaching those things to my kids now, like, give 110% effort, not just here, but in the classroom. When you guys are at home folding your clothes or making your bed, do it at 100%. My dad always used to tell me, like, I'll remember this for the rest of my life. He used to tell me, I don't care if you drive a bucket, you better have the cleanest bucket. I don't care if you flip patties for a living, you better be the best patty flipper. And that the rest of my life has just always resonated with me, because it's just like I see too many people just going through the motions, and especially coaches. And it's like, that's not benefiting the kids at all. I'm doing this. I want to make
exactly.
And so that's kind of what we try to do here, is just really just try to show these kids the no one's perfect. We don't have a perfect program. There's definitely, as there's places that we can improve in. So that's why, we linked up with Coach AJ and linked up with you. And, now we're kind of in your guys' ear and just trying to see how we can do to be better and to strive to be better for the kids, be better for athletes.
At the end, that's what it's all about as coaches, right? It's, and that was one thing for me as I got more experience and dealt with a few different types of athletes and seen the different types of athletes, right? We've kind of narrowed it down to, just because of how passionate we are about what we do, I only want to work with those guys that have the same passion,
I mean, you invest in them, they invest in you, right? You don't want to give your time to somebody who isn't going to give you 100% back, because you can be the best programmer in the world. You can write up the best things, you can have the best recovery, but if they're not going to give you 100% back, and they're not going to do the things that are non-negotiables, then they're not going to get better. And that's like kind of what we wanted to transition into last, was like, you're right, with the program and with that stuff. And like, on this podcast, we're track athletes. It's called the Handoff. So we like to focus a lot on speed. So at the end, we are going to ask is like, we want to always ask, it's, where do you feel like the stuff you're doing with your speed development, like you guys are using the Mclloyd system, which is amazing. And, how does that help you? And also how you see speed translate into every single sport and honestly make the athletes excel?
You want to answer it? You want me to answer that?
I think I want him to rephrase it.
Okay.
Go ahead. Say it. No, say it again. I'll answer it, but I just want to hear it again.
So how have you guys noticed the Mclloyd system help you a lot with your training? And also, how have you seen speed training benefit athletes?
Okay. So just being fully transparent, we really just did our first speed camp this past weekend with the Mclloyd. It was our first time really using it with a big group of people. We had about 45, 50 kids pull up. So like I said, we haven't had too much experience with the Mclloyd, but with the little time using it, and I've been using it for my one-on-ones now as of late. But I think it's just going to allow us to really transition from, okay, hey, you like me and Coach I always say, okay, you may look good, right? But at the end of the day, you may not be necessarily getting faster. So with the Mclloyd now being implemented, it just allows us to track, to be more specific with our training, which is what, we're not just putting somebody through some exercises. We understand that ingraining the technical, right, is what's most important. So implementing the Mclloyd is just going to allow us to be more detailed with each individual athlete, right? To not necessarily because we're not going to put a shortstop through the same program that, right, a soccer player might be on. Or we're not going to put that soccer player on the same program that a golfer is going to be on. So, and then seeing just the transition, right? Like I work with a lot of baseball guys. So it's cool being able to see that the small little technical stuff gets kind of translated subconsciously when it goes to first step, on a ball to the right or left, or stealing from first to second. So I think it's using the Mclloyd to then structure a program for each individual athlete that will be specific towards them. But like I said, we're fairly new with everything. It's just a daily, right? We just put in work, bro, every day, trying to see what works, what doesn't work, which is which is what coaches do. You kind of maybe that'll work. If it does, it doesn't. It's, you know, I think we were listening to Dan Paff. What do you say about cues? He was like,
They're like t-shirts.
They're like t-shirts, right?
Mhm.
So wear a t-shirt for a certain amount of time and then eventually you take it off. You know, maybe a cue will work great for this athlete in season and not work for him, you know, in the off season. So
Right.
Yeah, it's a lot of trial and error.
yeah.
It is trial and error. And the thing is too, just like you said, we just started using the Mclloyd and or the GPS tracker. That's, you know, it's been out, that kind of equipment has been around for a little while now, but I was introduced to it through Les Spellman, and you know, it was a pretty cool experience going down there and working with him and seeing how really just how detailed they are with it. And when I saw that, it just made me think like, damn,
There's
so much more that we could be doing to try to help these kids get faster. Like, yeah, all the stuff we're doing is helping them for sure, probably get faster, because at such a young age, you know, pretty much doing anything with them will help them get faster, you know. But with the GPS trackers, we could really see, like, are we really making these kids faster, or, you know, are we making them slower? You know,
Right.
so it really just helps us, again, you know, bring it back to the athletes. Are we helping the athletes really at the end of the day? Are we doing everything we can to make sure that they're getting better and they're getting faster? And really at the end of the day, running and sprinting is the basis of all sport. So if you're a poor runner, it doesn't really matter what sport you play, unless it's golf. But I mean, even sports like, you know, like swimming, there's research out there showing that if you become a better sprinter, you'll become a better swimmer. So you become a better runner and you're naturally just going to become a better athlete. You know, you still got to practice those skills, but if you're a better sprinter, it's going to make your life a lot better.
Yeah, I was a baseball player. I played travel through sophomore year of high school. I didn't make it to the, you know, freshman baseball team in high school, but that's all right. That's for another story. But no, I played travel baseball and I was a center fielder. So it's like, you know, when I started doing track in high school, I noticed like a difference when I played center. My first step, you know, getting to the ball or whatever, it was like, it just made a complete difference. It was like, it was making balls, you know, 30 feet away from me feel like 2 feet away. Like it was nothing. It was crazy.
And now I look back too, because that was the one thing, probably my one biggest limiting factor was speed. And I was just like, you know, training without really a purpose. You know, doing speed ladders and hurdles and, you know, like, but it wasn't getting stronger, but it wasn't really making me faster until I got to college and I kind of started understanding it a little bit. And then I started noticing like, damn, I'm way better than I ever was, you know, but it was just in high school, no one ever showed me how to be faster. You know, everyone says, oh, run faster, or, you know, like go run or do something.
They don't teach speed. They don't teach speed.
They don't teach speed. And, you know, so many people talk about it, and it's so crazy to me that no one, you know, I just heard of a high school here in town that's making their football team do burpees for 3 minutes. I'm like, but how is that making you a better football player though?
Very old traditional training, which is just based off of that's why, like, just like you guys talked about with the Mclloyd, like it makes training not be so much of a traditional, this is my method and this is how I do it. It's no, this is the numbers. This is a prescription. If we break the numbers down and we do a calculation, we break these down, right? This is scientifically how you're going to improve for this athlete, right? So if we have a group of athletes, these people need to work on acceleration. These people need to work on max V based off of, you know, the numbers. We're not just throwing you guys and saying, run the field 10 times and do burpees until you throw up. Like, that's not gonna make you better. Like, cool, you're working out in the sun hard, you're gonna pass out, but like, what is that gonna help? You know, the athletes who are good are gonna make it, and the ones who aren't are gonna just not make it. That's right. It. They don't really progress.
That's what it is, dude. It's like,
you got it or you don't.
Exactly.
And then in college, you could develop.
What is it that they make you do when you go to a baseball showcase, a football showcase, or maybe not basketball, but a soccer showcase? Baseball, it's a 60-yard dash. Yeah. How often in baseball are you running 60 yards linear?
Nope.
Yeah.
Never.
Right.
Never.
But sure enough, right? They're testing the 60-yard dash to see what.
Yeah, right? What you can do. And this is
as an athlete, your potential, you know. Exactly. And I remember because I played soccer too, but I was more serious on the baseball side, showcases, you know, as I got junior, senior in high school. And I remember I was a very well skilled player. I understood the game, fielding, hitting, very good at, but I was slow. 6-yard dash time, slow, horrible. But who knows? I was also never the tallest kid. Maybe if I had a 5 or 6 yard dash time in the day, maybe I would have gone some different looks, So I think speed training is just kind of like how you were saying, very highly overlooked, which is why it really got into mine. Because like Tyler was saying, it was something that I was never taught. I remember going out to the field and hitting balls and shooting on the goal, but I can tell you for a fact, I never did no technical work. I was never doing dribbles. I was never doing marches. I was never doing B skips, A skips, all this stuff that is just now we see like how, and then you see it even with the guys in our class, just for the simple fact of you come Monday through Friday, the progression is inevitable, and it's just, I think it's just building that foundation from a young age. I think it was with you and Coach AJ, we were talking about the other day, is like, what should these athletes from, second to 6th, 7th grade be doing, right? It's just it should be all stability, mobility, posture,
strictly molding them to be a proper athlete. They can molding them to have the potential to be a collegiate and a professional athlete from a young age. He
was just talking about an athlete who's had horrible knees and his parents are he's like in 5th, 6th grade and they're still having him play for
man. Like you gotta stop overloading these kids, man. They're kids. Just teach them, give them the tools that when it's time they have it. So it's like that's like we were talking about, like even the technical part, being skilled technically can improve your time by like 50%, like your performance just from being technically sound. But to wrap it up, Ethan had another question before we
I just wanted to know, like, what was your who was like your biggest influences when it came to sports growing up and where you guys are now? I've just, my dad was a huge influence. He was a high school football player and he was supposed to go D1 before he last game of high school tore every ACL, MCL, every L in his leg, and that ended that, and that was like my dream was to kind of like go in his footsteps and want to go D1, whatever sport it was, whether that be baseball, lacrosse, football, and ended up with track, the least likely of the bunch. But what was who were your influences?
As an athlete or as a coach now?
Both.
Okay.
So as an athlete, for sure, it would definitely be my dad as well. My dad and my brother, man. I can never remember a time when I didn't have a bat or a ball or something in my hand, playing a sport. My dad would, toss me the ball, make me dribble left-handed with my right hand behind my back, doing stuff. And, it just literally, I was that kid that when I grew up, everyone was like, and I told people I was a trainer and I was doing sports performance training, like, oh, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Like it just made sense. Like it's just that it was natural for me to do what I'm doing now just because this has always been our goal. So for sure, as an athlete, it'd be my dad and my brother. And then as a coach, man, that's a tough one. I would say recently, Les Spelman was definitely my inspiration after, we've been doing this for a while, but, we've kind of been stagnant for a little bit, I would say. Like we haven't probably seen as much growth as I wanted to. And, maybe it's partially on my, I could take responsibility for that, but after linking up with Les and really just seeing the grind that he has, the passion he has, bro, and the athletes that he's worked with, it was really the most mind-blowing experience I've ever had. I was like, holy shit, I thought I had it. I thought I was working hard. This makes me look like I just been sitting on my ass for the last 5 years, so it's just he's definitely been a huge inspiration for me and
and me.
And Oscar, he literally told me, I hit up Laurent about the Mclloyd, and then next thing you know, I was on the phone with Les, and he's like, yeah, if you want to, I forgot to get back to you on Instagram, because I hit him up on Instagram. I was like, hey, do you mind if I come out there and, check, just literally I'll be a fly on the wall. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to take you back, but if you want to come out here, we got practice on Monday. The NFL guys are going back. I'll pick you up from the airport, and you can stay the night at my house. I'm like, I say less. I'm like, for sure, I'm gonna book my flight right now. I was so sus.
Yeah, man. I've been trying to reach out to him. Like I hit him up. We've had a conversation. Like he knows I've been with AJ, so I've talked to him off and on over the last couple of months. But I was trying to link up with him to talk on a Zoom and trying to talk and see if I could get a way out there during this during
sure,
just
bro.
gotta come out there, man. Yeah.
I'm
Gotta
sure
reach out
once.
to
I'm
him.
sure once. You know that, but that he is the most busy person I ever.
Yeah,
seen.
man, that's totally what I thought. Cause we started linking to figure something out right around combine time. So he was like, it was, you can already tell
It was nutty. I
Yeah.
swear. So we'd be at practice with the NFL guys, and I swear to God, because it's in Irvine and he lives in San Diego. It literally take us like minimum 3 hours just to get back. It's supposed to only be really an hour drive, but before we even get home, he's stopping off the side of the road to send emails, to do a Zoom call, to do a podcast, to do this, to do that. I'm like, bruh, we ain't even like. I'm running off like 4 hours of sleep right now. I went to bed at midnight doing computer work with him, and then we waking up at 4 a.m, right back at it. I'm just like, bro, I've never seen nothing like it. So
you can't teach that grind, man.
It's relentless, man. It's a relentless grind.
With the way we're going, though, bro, and I really truly feel like eventually we're all gonna link up, and
100%.
we're all gonna end up working together. Really,
me and AJ are slowly making our way to the west.
Oh yeah,
So,
bro.
we're ready. We're ready for the takeover. Let's get it.
I might have to work my way over to the west.
Yeah, Ethan, get your shit and come over here too, bro.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to work my way out west.
Let's get it.
Tap in.
Let's make the hand. Let's do the handoff with the Sunset Cali view, bro. You know,
man.
Yeah,
Awesome.
man. But appreciate y'all for coming, man.
Yeah, appreciate it so much, man. Thank you, guys.
Man.
One thing real quick. I think athletes need to play all sports, man. If there's any young athletes out there listening, bro, please.
I made a post about that, y'all. Play every sport when you're young. It develops you more well-rounded as an athlete as well.
Something you preach, man.
100%. Do everything.
And even exactly.
Yeah, once you get to like whatever junior, senior year, you could kind of start to pick and choose. But I think parents really just, he's in second grade and he's only playing.
Exactly, bro. You know.
I think it's golf. I've been talking shit about golf.
Yeah, you've been talking golf down, man.
You will know.
I love golf. I'll go play golf. I love it.
Yeah.
No, like exactly.
Hey, thank you guys for having us on for real.
Man, thank you.
But we should definitely get on another one. I would love to.
Yeah, for sure.
I wrote down hella questions in my head. And
yeah, for sure. Like, we'll definitely schedule maybe in like another couple of weeks. We'll hop on again because we definitely got a lot more to talk about.
Yeah, just run it back.
All right, man. Yeah,
Thank
for sure.
you.
Thank you guys.
Till next time.